All right, let's do a breakdown of Is It You by PAX. This has been a while since I've actually listened to this song, but figured it'd be fun to break it down. Let's check it out. So right away, intro, right? What am I'm looking for? I'm looking for beats, and so that's what we're getting, and something that's unique. So right away, the sound is unique because it's a little wetter than you would normally hear. Right, that big clap reverb. There's also that unique little vocal texture in the back, if you could hear that. At least it sounds like a vocal to me, but it's like... All right, so coming up at the 30-second mark here, it looks like we're going to keep going through intro, so maybe about a 32-bar intro. And then it looks like here we're going to have an intro break, and then we'll go into the bass drop. So let's just see what happens here. So 30 seconds in, are we going to get a lift of some kind? What's going to happen? So a little bit of a bass, right? Not the full thing, so just teasing, starting to tease out the elements of the track, and in this case, teasing out the bass. So a little bit of a bass lift. Okay, so coming up on the intro kind of break here, what's going to happen? Are they going to be introducing a vocal that they're going to tease like even later on, or what's going on? Okay, so far so good. I really like this. So they're not really doing anything crazy. They're just setting things up so that they can drop the bass drop. But I want to know, like a lot of times in an intro, you tease the hook at some point, maybe some right before the bass drop typically. So I'm just curious to see what happens through here. Okay, nice. So we're getting a little bit of a trans element. So we've got the lows out because they're high passed, and then we have that shh, right? So both of these things are setting up that bass drop. Okay, we hear that reverse vocal, so we're starting to get some teases. Is it you? All right, and there we go. And so typically, you're gonna have that hook of the track either right before the bass drop or like even on the bass drop. It just depends on the way that the vocal is played in the track. So for example, if the vocal fits in a section just before a drop, right? Like if it's one of those vocals like oh my gosh, I'm going to try to come up with something off the top of my head. I don't even want to. I'm trying to think of like other songs, but something that would fit before a drop that would make sense to go into a drop, or something that lands on the one, like a vocal that plays and starts on the beat, right? So either way it makes sense, like slightly before the bass drop, just before the bass drop, or right there on the bass drop. Okay, but still, here we go. Okay, we're just getting the vocal. Also, really quick with the intro here, we're getting a nice clean A-B. The intro, who cares? Like, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but still, it's 32 bars, so 16 bars just kind of plain, just the beats, that little vocal texture. And then when we get into the B, he starts teasing an element, a small development, a very small development. And that would be the bass, and then we high pass so we get set up the impact of the bass drop, and then a little bit of transition gravity into the bass drop with a snare, reverse, some white noise, and then boom, we get into the bass drop, we get that vocal entry, and then now we're getting the full groove. Okay, we hear something like a, could be a vocal, maybe a pad. Is it you? All right, cool. So when we the bass drop right here is exactly what it sounds like, right? So we go intro and then we go into the bass drop. And the bass drop is where we drop the bass. We teach people how to move and groove to the track. And before we start throwing hooks on top, because we don't want to overwhelm the listener. That's what's probably the two most important things here in the bass drop is simply drop the bass line. Let people learn the bass drop, you know? Like at this point, the DJ's mixing into the track and mixing out of a track. And when you're mixing out of a track, you're kind of mixing out of the main drop, like right here, right? A main drop and the DJ starts mixing out. So this was really exciting. So now people need to be eased into another track, another world, another vibe, another experience. They need to be eased in. That's why right here in the bass drop, we need to ease into the track, right? DJ just kind of mixes in, and then people get used to the groove. All right, cool, I'm in a new vibe here. Let's try to figure this out. Okay, once they understand how to dance to it and they get the vibe, they like the vibe, then later on, that's when we can start putting the cool hooks on top. But right here in the bass drop, we're just trying to keep it chill. Just presenting the groove, being like, here guys, this is going to be the new things that you're going to dance to, and later on I'll give you the good stuff, all right? But if we start dropping the hooks over the bass drop, then two things. Number one, you're kind of blowing your load, right? I love that expression. You're just blowing your load. You're giving everything away too fast, and no one likes that. Second, you're just going to overwhelm the listener. They're not ready yet. Okay, so let's go ahead. So in the A section of the bass drop, remember, like any kind of like 16-bar section, 32-bar section, you can divide into an A section, B section. And so the A section of the bass drop is really just about introducing that groove. The B section of the bass drop, the purpose there is you could do a little bit of a lift to just lift the energy, keep it going, heighten things a little bit. Nothing crazy, not a big developing move, just something that lifts it. Could be simple, like another open hat or a shaker. But another important thing, probably a more important thing for the B section of the bass drop, is to start pulling us into or pushing us, creating some forward momentum into the first break. All right, so that's what I'm really looking for. Here in the A, awesome, we just get the groove. Here in the B, how are we now being pushed by the producer into the break, right? Okay, and this is a classic way to do that. So what you do is you start introducing the main hook of the track, but you filter it up. So here he has that big donk kind of bass sound, but it's way filtered down and it's pretty ambient. Like, I don't know if this is going to get drier later on. Right now it's kind of in a nice big, almost reverb, but it sounds like there's a lot of depth, but there's a low pass on it. And so I expect that to open up, and maybe the sound will get drier. I don't know. This sound is naturally kind of a wet kind of space. And so, but those are things I'm anticipating. Okay, this is really cool too, all right? So when we first get into the bass drop, he drops the vocal, right? Is it you? Really like that too, because the is it is called a pickup melody. So is it you, and then it lands on the beat. And so anytime you have a pickup melody, it's not that pickup melodies are better than other melodies that don't have a pickup or that land on the beat, but pickup melodies are always really cool because they help you create extra gravity into a section. They help you pull the listener into a section. So is it, that pulls you in, you, and then you resolve that is it on the beat. Okay, but moving back to the main point here is we get that vocal on the to land on the bass drop, and then in the B section of the bass drop we get that vocal again. Okay, is it you? Okay, but then he speeds up the presentation of the vocal, because then we're also going to get something at the halfway point of the B section here, this 8-bar section. We're going to get something at the 4. All right, so we got something at the 1, we're getting something at the 4, and I call that punks. All right, punctuation points of an 8-bar section, and it's just really, punks are just important structural moments. That's really what it boils down to. And in an 8-bar section, the most important structural moments would be the 1, 4, and the 8. Okay, accenting that 1, hitting something at the 4, giving a little spike of excitement, and then also something at the 8. And you know this because like anybody that's listening to music knows that this kind of stuff happens in 8-bar segments, and something happens usually at the 8-bar mark. But what a lot of producers don't realize is the organization within an 8-bar section, right? So the priority is doing something big at the 8-bar mark. Next on the priority list, okay, down the totem pole, you could say, would be the P4 punk, okay, the 4-bar mark. And so here what we're getting is we're getting a vocal on the 1, and now we're getting a vocal on the 4. We didn't get a vocal on the 4 in the first 8 bars, so the A section, but we're speeding up the presentation of the vocal, the hook, the punks. And so now we're getting one at the 4, and so that's really cool.
Is it me?
And not only that, we're getting a call response in the lyrics. So the first one is it you? And then the second one, is it me? And so that's really cool too. Okay, so you can hear that opening up. That's cool. And you can hear the distortion on the sound, on the filter. Like you can really hear that crackle. All right, I missed that. That's cool. Oh my God, that's so cool. Okay, so a couple things going on here. Number one, we're in a break. What do we need to do in a break? A couple things. Number one, actually give them a break. How do you do that? High pass it. Take away the low end. That's what people dance to. Give them a break. Number two is total tangent, but I've really gotten used to like this circle here, and so I now like have my fingers out in a way where it's like I'm making use of the natural border of the circle. Anyway, so number one is give them a break. Number two is introduce something new or different. Okay, and so typically what that means is you're going to tease the hook through the B section of the bass drop, so kind of a transition element. And then it just gets presented in a more full picture in the break, right? The break is where you really want to introduce that big hook, right? Something new, something different. And different here means the full presentation of the hook relative to the not full presentation that you get in the B section of the bass drop, okay? So that's new and different. Okay, so in the break, what do we want to do? We want to give them a break. We want to introduce something new or different. Typically, it's going to be the main hook of the track. Okay, this is the space where you really introduce to the listener what the track is all about, right? And then third thing that you could do is create an atmos. Okay, and atmos is just kind of atmospheric sound. And the reason why you want to do this in the breaks is because in the drops, you want the drops to feel really forward in the mix, in the listener's face. You want that impact. You want that aggression. You want that impact is probably the best word. But in the breaks, we want to open things up and pull things back. Okay, we want things to feel like they're stepping back, right? We're taking a break, literally, right? And then boom. Okay, it's like, if someone's at work or something and it's break time, they take a step away from their work, and that's what's going on here. Okay, we're taking a step away, and an atmosphere helps us do that. It helps us create that feeling of stepping back, opening things up, taking a break. And so right away when we get into the break, we're getting that atmospheric sound. Okay, it's that vocal texture that's going like this. Okay. All right. So we got give them a break. Introduce something new or different, usually the main hook. Atmos sound. Push the mix back a little bit. 4 would be build tension, so we'll get to that in a second. But the fifth one that you could do, kind of down the totem pole here, is a break entry. Okay, you don't always have to have a break entry, but it's cool. And so that's what we're getting here. Is we're getting this break entry using the main hook sound. It just extends, right?
Is it you? Is it me? Is it you?
Okay, and so here, the new thing is the just even faster presentation now of the vocals. Is it you? Is it me? Is it you? Is it me? And so that's taking a more prominent role. Before, it just played once because the prominent role here is just introducing the bass line. And then we speed it up just a little bit on the 1 and the 4, but now it's taking center stage because it's playing in a faster succession. So the call response is more obvious. It's a more obvious boom, boom, 1, 2, 1, 2, call response, call response. Okay, so the vocal's taking over here. Okay, there's another kind of atmospheric sound back there. So we have one that's wide, a wide vocal texture like this. We have a little kind of, how can I call it?
Is it me?
Like a little kind of almost dissonant one that's kind of down the middle as well. Okay, and remember the fourth thing I said with break is build tension. So one of the things that we're doing now is boom, 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 boom. That pattern on the, what is that, like some kind of percussion is starting to build the tension.
Is it you?
Oh, that's not a percussion, that's the main hook. So it's working back up.
Is it me?
Okay, that little glitch, that's really cool. Just a little bit of a variation. It's almost, and also the cool thing about that glitch is that it creates instability, right? Like the vocal's glitching, and so it creates instability. So right here in the build section, one of the ways that you build tension is creating instability, because you always want to contrast the break from the drop, and the drop is just pure stability. We're dropping in, things are stable, people are dancing, we've got the kick on that pulse, and the bass line is just rolling, it's just stable. But in the break, the more kind of instability that you can create, or techniques you could use to create instability, the better. And so that's kind of what that glitch does. Not only is it cool and the listener's like, oh my god, that's so cool, but it's also setting up that feeling of anxiety, right? Where it's glitchy, it's unstable, it's unsure, and then boom, we land into the drop, okay? And so right here, yeah, we're building tension. We got the riser, we've got the opening of the filter on the donk bass again. We're getting some little glitchy stuff going on with the vocal. Another thing that we're doing is growing the space so that it sounds to me like we're growing a space. Let's see. Now, it could just be that the filter's kind of taken away the reverb, but as the filter opens up on the donk bass, you could feel the huge reverb that's on there. And another way to create tension and contrast between the break and the drop is to continue to grow the space in the break. And again, what that does is connects to what I was talking about earlier with Atmos. Atmos is a natural way to just push the break back from the front of the mix. But of course, growing the space is another way to do that explicitly. Instead of just creating a step back, a kind of static step back where the atmosphere just kind of moves it back, when you grow the space, you're continuing to just go backwards. Okay, and so when that huge space that you create, that you go out into, that depth is way back there, when that goes away, it feels like you're going from way back there to whoosh, right in your face. So you get this really impactful back to front movement, all right, depth contrast. And so that's what that's doing. So listen to the depth that's created with the reverb on the donk bass.
Is it the ecstasy? Is it the ecstasy?
That's so cool. Okay, so
The ecstasy. Is it the ecstasy?
all right, so all that building tension gets cut off, and so that's always going to be an alarming moment where people are like, whoa, where you get their full attention right there. That's why that's always so impactful, and it will always happen in tracks, is where you have this building tension, building tension, building tension, boom, it cuts, you deliver the payoff, and here we get a new piece of the vocal, which is the ecstasy line. And that's just cool, because here we have this vocal that's call response, call response, call response. Everything cuts. We get a new vocal, and then we just go into this really cool kind of. I don't know if this is a false start. It seems like it's a false start. A false start is where you go into the drop, but you don't deliver everything. And this is a bit of an unusual one, because typically with false starts, you have the low end in there, but of course, rules are often meant to be broken in a very small minority of cases. There's that saying from Picasso that says, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. I'm more of a proponent of learn the rules like a pro so you can be a pro, or another way I would like to say that is learn the rules like a pro so you can execute them like an artist. But anyway, we can always break rules now and then. And this is a really cool example because it's just so attention grabbing. Bum, 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 and then it just explodes. And I love that. There's gravity into the drop. Okay. Okay, so now we're in the drop. Okay, so let's back up. So we have the intro, we have the bass drop where we introduce the bass line, we have, and we creep up one of the main hooks of the track, which is the donk bass. We have the break, which is where we kind of play with the vocal a little bit more. But the thing when we get into the drop here is that this is now the hook drop. Okay, this is called hook drop 1. So intro, bass drop, break 1, hook drop 1. And the reason why I call it a hook drop 1 is because now we're ready to put the hooks over the groove. Now the listener, the audience is ready to listen to hooks over groove because they know how to move and groove to the track because of the bass drop. And so now they're ready for other things to come onto the drop and to pay attention to those. So you could say that like now the groove is just subconscious. They know what's going on. They're just dancing. They don't need to pay attention to it. Their brain doesn't need to pay attention to the groove. It wants to pay attention now to something else. It wants to. It craves it. It needs it, you know? And so that's why you start putting the hooks over the groove. Over here, it would have been too overwhelming. The brain is consciously trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is nice. I like it. All right. So once that's done, people are just going to dance automatically, but they need something to hold their attention, capture their attention. And so that's why it's really important for number one, don't put hooks over the bass drop. Okay. It's too overwhelming. They're not ready for it. But in the hook drop, put hooks over the groove because not only do they not, you know, because they're craving it. They know they want it. They need it. Otherwise, they're going to get bored. And so we're getting that right away. We have that big donk bass over the groove. And so they have, you could think of two paths in the brain, the subconscious path and the conscious path. And this isn't like hippie nonsense. This is just obvious, right? So like the groove is what they're dancing to automatically. Okay, that's the subconscious part. And then the conscious part is what are they actually paying attention to, right? They're not going to be talking to their friend. Maybe they are, but they want to be dancing. They want to be listening to something. And so that's the hook part of it. So you get the hook over the groove, the conscious and the unconscious and the subconscious, not the unconscious. We don't want people unconscious, but the subconscious. There we go. Okay, we're starting to get that, reintroduce the vocal. And so I'm curious to know if both hooks, the vocal and the donk bass, are going to play a more prominent role over the drop. Okay, so we're getting that 1-4 call response. Is it you? Is it me? And underneath that, the synth is opening up. So we got that first 8 bars with a full donk bass. I love how that vocal just stops the bass pretty much, and it just goes down into a low pass filter. And now we're getting a little bit of a transition feel, right? When you have that bass opening up through the filter, we're getting a transition through the 16 bars. Now this is a 32 bar drop right here. So whenever I see 32 bar drop, remember we were talking earlier, A section, B section, A section, B section. And so what's the identity of the A section? What's the identity of the B section? And so far in the A section, what it's been is 8 bars of the donk bass, and then the vocal comes in on the 1, and that bass goes down into a low pass and then starts to transition up. And so the reason why that's important is in the second 8 bars here, we're transitioning ultimately into the B section of the track. Okay, so he's taking us somewhere. This first 8 bar section is really cool. We're ready to chill out, listen to a hook over groove. That's what we got. He's building tension, boom, we land into a drop. Now we've got this nice hook over a groove. We love it. But now in the second 8 bars, we're going to start working our way towards the B section. Remember in the bass drop, we start working our way towards the break. But now we're in the drop, we probably have a clean A, clean B. In the A section, eventually we need to start working our way towards the B section. And so that's what that low pass on the filter is, on the low pass on the synth is doing. And then we're getting the vocal on the 1, on the 4. And so let's see what happens. So something needs to happen. Everything that's going on here is telling the listener subconsciously something's going to happen in the B section. So let's find out what that is. And he's bringing up that vocal. I missed that before. Okay, you can hear that atmos come up from the vocal. Okay, so you can hear that new thing. Something that's going to define the beat section is this more sustained type of bass sound. Right? Okay, it sounds like that was just an entry. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so what's going on now is we're always moving forward in a song. Always moving forward in a song. So right here, when the low pass was opening up on the, the second 8 bars of the A section, that was taking us to the B section of the drop. And so when you have a clean A, clean B, the question always is, what defines the A? What defines the B? And what's defining the B right now is this kind of different melody that the donk bass is playing. All right, so before it was bump, 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 bump. So a call response melody in the bass. But now, sorry, I've got to move stuff around over here. But now the donk bass changes the melody in a very important way. So let's check it out. Okay, so why is that important? Because it's just hanging out on one like pedal note. Not really a pedal note, because pedal note's typically sustained, but pedal note is when you're just hammering one note basically. But bump, 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 bump. Why is that important? Why is that important? The reason why that's extremely important for 2 reasons. Number 1 is before we have been set up from over here to over here. What is this? This is from 115 to 226. So for 1 minute, 60 seconds, we've heard bump, 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 bump. That is the pattern that's in our brains. That is setting up the expectation. We have a call, we have a response. Call, bump, 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 response, bump, 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 bump. That is now broken. Okay, so this is a great variation, and man, this makes me want to stop recording this video and experiment with this idea. This is amazing. So take a simple call response melody, and then just play the call. Play the call. What is that going to do? Build tension. Who cares? Why are we building tension? Because of the overall theme of the video so far, which is forward momentum into the next section. Pull the listener into the next section. When you have that call, bump, 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 that creates tension because we want the resolution. We want the response. We want the bump, bump, bump. That's what we want. But he's just holding out, and that builds tension. It's just moving us forward. It's moving us forward. So just feel that, okay? I'm going to play it from right here, about kind of halfway through the second 8 bars. Then we're going to move into the B section and just listen to the tension that's created when it's playing bump, 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 okay? And I do think he does resolve it, but that's the identity of the B section now, which is this kind of new variation on that donk bass melody. Okay, cool. So I mean, that's amazing, right? That creates a lot of tension. And what I want to do is I want to back up, because what I said was this was a 32 bar drop section, and that's incorrect. Okay, this is a 24 bar section, and the reason why this 8 bars is even cooler now that it's a 24 bar drop section is because of the tension that's created. Like at the end of the bass drop here, we're creating tension to move into the next section. Right here, at the end of a break section, we're creating tension to move into the next section. So for this 24 bar drop section, this last 8 bars, the third 8 bars, is creating tension to move into the next section. Now, the easiest way to build tension is through like a riser, right? That's an on the nose. Everybody understands it. When you hear a riser, well, you know we're going somewhere. But the fun thing is when you can find not on the nose ways to build tension. And this is a great example of a not on the nose way, or a unique way, a different way to build tension using melody. Gosh, okay, there's so many things to say and unpack here. But one of the things I talk about is like if you can use the hooks to communicate different things through the track. So, for example, in the last 8 bars here, we need to communicate to the listener that we're going to be going somewhere. And then the way that we communicate that we're going somewhere to the listener is by building tension. Building tension. And then the next place that we go is going to release that tension. Okay? But if you can use the hooks, to communicate that tension, the better. Remember when I said that you can use a riser to communicate to the listener, we're going somewhere new and different, okay? But if you can, that's an on the nose way to do it, like snare rolls, right? Snare rolls communicate tension. But if you can use the hooks, the things that people are paying attention to, right? Remember, they don't hear the groove. They're just dancing to it. That's background noise now at this point. The only thing they're paying attention to is the hooks that you put in front of them, okay? And so if you could use the hook, the thing that they're listening to communicate what you want to communicate, that's going to be the most powerful thing. And so this is a great example of that because they're changing the melody in a way. They're varying the melody in a way that communicates tension because they're only giving the call for a little while, right? Call, call, call. Right? Rather than call, response. That call creates a lot of tension. It creates tension and desire for us to simply hear the bump, bum, bum, right? Now, I'm not going to do this, but bum, 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 bum. But the cool thing also about the call, dang it, hold on one second. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that's like a minor third right there, which isn't that tense of an interval. It's the minor third, 1, 3, 5 in a minor chord. That's all part of the minor triad, 1, 3, 5. But the cool thing that I want to say about this is the call is playing the minor third. Bump, 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 bump. Okay, and then a bump, 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 bump. That the lower note is the tonic. Okay, so you got the minor third down to the tonic. That's the whole riff. Bump, 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 minor third, bump, bump, bump. Okay, that lower note is the tonic. And another reason why the melody creates tension here is because it's not playing the tonic, it's playing the minor third. But so not only in our minds do we have the pattern of bump, 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 call, bump, 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 response, but the note that he hangs out on, the minor third, has a little bit more inbuilt tension than the tonic does. If you just play the tonic in a song, it's just going to feel at home. You're going to feel at home all the time. Okay, but if you're playing pretty much any other note other than the fifth, if you play the fifth in the scale, that sounds pretty stable too, but it still creates tension because the tonic is the feeling of home. And so anytime you're playing another note, like the minor third, that's going to create tension because it's not the tonic. Right? And so there's 2 levels of tension that are going on here. You've got the pattern that is broken because they were breaking the pattern. They're not giving us the response. And then also the note itself within the scale is delivering and communicating tension because it's not the tonic. Okay? So there's a lot of things that are going on here that are really, really good. And one, if we could just cover them, because, I'm trying to think about this out loud, and like I said, this makes me want to stop the video and go make some tracks and just experiment with these ideas. That's what's fun about this stuff, is you listen to it, it's like, dude, that's awesome. I can go try that in my own unique way. But so let's talk about, okay, the A section, B section. A section was very simple. We just get the call response donk bass melody, okay? And then in the second 8 bars, okay, we get the vocal's reintroduced, and then the donk bass low passes up as a kind of transition into the next section. But we get the vocal on the 1 and the 4. And then we get a little bit of tension stuff going on here. And then we get into the last 8 bars of the drop here, where the melody changes. It varies. And so what it does is it builds tension. Why does it build tension? Because we need to create forward momentum in the next section. And the other 2 things about it are they're breaking the pattern of call response. So they're just doing call, call, call. And the notes itself of the call, call, call build tension because they're hanging out on the minor third rather than playing the tonic. So lots and lots of cool things going on here. Okay. So Let's now get into this next section, which is the strip and the first part of the main break and build. Okay, so the strip, this is the first part of the main break and build, because what we're doing is we're starting to step down the energy. When we get into the main break and build, there's probably the most important thing is the V taper. So you want to settle the energy, and then you want to rebuild the energy. Okay, and then right at the bottom there's some kind of turning point. Okay, but here what a strip section does is it starts that step down in energy. And so here we're at a high level energy point coming out of the drop. The strip helps us step down the energy so that we can kind of transition and have a natural stepping down transition into what I call the basement of the track, the lowest energy point of the track, which is where you build up from. Okay, and so that's what a strip does. It starts just stepping down the energy. And in a strip drop section, typically what you have is the kick, the bass, and the hook. All right, those are usually the three elements that are there, and plus some other little things could be sprinkled in as well, but those are the core three elements typically. And so let's listen to what else is going on. So we got the kick, the bass, the donk bass. All right, so those are the three core elements. We also have that vocal, that wide vocal texture, which is serving as an Atmos. And some other tiny little things. There's a little thing that's coming up on the like, almost sounds like a short ride. Okay, and then we're low passing down that that donk bass, which makes sense because what we're doing is we're settling down the energy. Okay, remember this is the section that we're in right now. We're bringing down the energy. One way to do that is to step down into a strip. Okay, that's one way that we go down. Okay, another way. Yeah, man. Another way that we can go down is low pass filter, right, or a downshifter. All these things communicate a settling of the energy. And so when he's lowering a low passing down on the donk bass, that's consistent with the downward motion of the downward energy, the settling of the energy that we get through the V taper of the main break and build. Okay, and so yeah, those are the two things that so far, which is the strip and then the that low pass down on the donk bass. And so now, we're moving into the basement of the track, the lowest energy point. And there we go. Okay, now we're in the lowest energy point, and we're just going to get now he's reintroducing the vocal, only the vocal.
You. Is it me? Is it you?
Okay, cool. So we're getting a call response, and now we're going to get like a nested call response. So the call, the is it you, is it me, and then the next one, is it you, is it me, is going to have that kind of like four-monted layer down.
Is it you?
Or octave layer.
Is it me?
Okay, so that is the lowest energy point in the track. That is the basement. I really need to take more notes on this track because this is serving as a lot of examples for a lot of good things. But anyway, so that's the lowest energy point. That's the basement of the track right there. It's just vocal over pretty much nothing. We've got a little vocal texture just so there's not silence on the dance floor in between the vocals. We still get like a little bit of tension from that vocal pad that's kind of sprinkling. But now what are we going to do? We're going to start building back up. Okay, that's what the V taper is all about. We worked our way down with the strip and the low pass on the donk bass. Now we're in the basement of the track, the low point, and we're going to work our way back up. So so what are the things that are going to be introduced to work our way back up?
Is it you?
Okay, so drums, classic tops, really. Just reintroducing the tops without the groove. So that is a classic thing to do. And then we also get the bon, the sustained donk bass sound.
Is it me?
Vocals are starting to glitch if you hear that. Okay, the pad down the middle and the vocal textures are coming up. Okay, so they're creeping up, creating that tension. And so everything is communicating this right now. We already did this. We hit the basement, now we're going up. And that's what everything is doing. The volume on those sounds are going up. The drums are communicate this because we're starting to add things back in. Okay.
Is it you?
this. You can hear the white noise start to come up. What's it doing? It's doing this. It's going up in volume. You can hear that low riser now, starting low. What is that doing? It's doing this. Everything is communicating this emotion, this rising of tension, this feeling of tension. Okay, we got a snare roll. What's the snare roll communicating? This. We're going up. Okay. Okay, we're getting a faster rep on the vocal. You, duh, 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 duh. What's that communicating? This. Why? Because it's speeding up. It's speeding up. Okay, so build. What can we do for a build section? How do we build tension? 4 things. Rep, roll, rise, and grow. Okay, rep, roll, rise, and grow. There's another one that I've been thinking about lately, which is just creating some kind of chaos through... Anyway, but we're going to do rep, roll, rise, and grow. And so what do we have here? Rep. Not too much of a rep right here, but that rep, roll, we got a snare roll. We have a rise. You can hear the riser. Do we have a growing of the space? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and the last thing, those are the 4 ways that we build tension, but a build section, typically for me, is going to have 5 things to feel complete. And the last one is going to be what I call a pipo. And a pipo is called a pattern interrupt, pay off. Pattern interrupt, pay off. And so what does that mean? Well, the pattern interrupt part of it is we're interrupting the building pattern. So you can feel right here, this is just building and building and building, right? This. Everything is doing this. And then this gets cut off. It just abruptly stops, okay? That's the pattern interrupt part, because we are communicating this building pattern, and then that stops. And that is very alarming. It triggers the flight or fight response. People freeze in their tracks, and you have their full attention right there. And so when you have their full attention, that's typically where you're going to deliver the second part of a pipo, which is PO, pay off. So pattern interrupt, then pay off. Okay, you give them the payoff, which is going to be typically the vocal.
Is it the ecstasy?
There you go, right? Every single time. Okay, so doing what they did before. Okay, what do we get? This is hook drop 2. Okay, so we have intro, bass drop, break 1, hook drop 1, main break and build, hook drop 2. What do we do in a hook drop? We put the hooks over the groove. What do we have right here? Hooks over groove. We've got the donk bass over the groove. Okay, so my question is, are they going to repeat what was going on over here in the second 8 bars? So what happened in the second 8 bars, if you remember, the vocal played on the 1, also played on the 4, but when the vocal played on the 1, the donk bass low passed down, and then it started to open up. My guess, and again, I haven't listened to this in a while, but my guess is that is not going to happen here. Because in HD2, this is kind of like the peak energy level. And so if I was making this track, and we'll see if this is going to play out, I would want that donk bass to continue. I want that energy to keep going. And another reason why that's cool is because that is going to serve as a kind of elevation of HD2 over HD1. In HD1, I want to give away the donk bass for that first 8 bars because that's an important payoff, but then I can take that away. And that's what they did in the second 8 bars here. They kind of take that away by bringing down the low pass. And so we don't get to just jam out. We don't get to jam out on the donk bass for a little while. Okay, and so what I'm expecting here is, if we can give a label to this section, is I'm expecting a donk bass jam, where we're just jamming out on the donk bass. Now, I've been talking for about 3 minutes on this last part, and so let's actually see if that's what happens. I hope. Exactly, right? You just want to jam out on that. This is where you want to just deliver. You're just giving them what they want, what they love, what they're craving. You're just hammering it. And so I love this. God, this track has so many good things going on in it. Anyway, and this is another one of them. This is so subtle, but it's excellent. Okay, so what's going to happen? So the first drop was a 24 bar drop, right? And this next one here, it looks like it's 24 bars. And so for the first 8, we're getting the donk bass. The second 8 bars, we're still getting the donk bass, right? We're just jamming out. But also what we're doing is we're starting to create a little bit of tension here to move into another section. And so what is that section going to be? Is it going to be a development on the donk bass sound? I don't know. If I was producing this track, what I would do is I would let that donk bass go through the third 8 bars and then start filtering it down. Okay, because if you think about it, a lot of this track has been filtering that donk bass up, but here in the strip drop section, that's when they filter it down into the basement, and I really like that. And I would do a callback to that, and I'd also filter it down so we can kind of settle the energy into the outro. And so we get this really nice, clear communication to the listener through a simple filter. All right, because the filter opens up on that donk bass to kind of introduce the main idea of the track, and then the track closes by filtering down on that bass sound. And so I think that would be a really cool kind of bookend concept for the track. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that's what I would be doing, right? Because I like to think about these things at like a kind of higher level, and so I mean I'm just someone who really likes thinking about the concepts of music and then trying to actively apply them. And so that idea to me appeals to me, you know, where we introduce the sound through the low pass up and then we gently exit the track by the low pass down. All right, and so let's see what happens though. Cool, I really like this too. And so for the beats, for the third 8 bar section here, things like we're working up to the peak energy level. So we got that sustained bass entry. It sounds like maybe some new tops came in as a little bit of a lift in energy, but now we're getting the vocal. Did we have the vocal in the second 8? Really cool. So we didn't get the vocal in the second 8. So this 16 bars, the first 16 bars of the HT2, is just a jam. It's just a pure jam on that synth, because the producer knows that's the hook of the track, and the producer knows that's the payoff of this track. People want to hear that donk bass over the groove. And so that's what he gives them in the first 16 bars of this drop. And then through the third 8 here, we're starting to bring that vocal back in. But we gave them their fix. We satisfied their craving of just letting them jam out of that with that donk bass over the groove. Okay. So everything's maxed out here. Okay, we've got the donk bass, we've got the vocal, we've got the full groove. Again, it sounds like maybe there was some tops added, but we also now have that full vocal texture that's playing. Cool. So they're doing what I was hoping that they would do, which is bring that low pass down. But there's some cool vocal texture in. They're also peppering that vocal in. So it's just so good, dude. It's just so good. Little vocal glitch thing. Where does it happen? At the end. Why? Because we're transitioning. We're creating tension because we're going to move towards the outro.
Is it the ecstasy?
And then ending with the ecstasy right there. That's so good. Good gosh, man. Right? Because here the ecstasy plays in the break as the piezo vocal.
Is it the ecstasy?
Does it play right here too?
Is it the ecstasy?
And then a nice little callback just at the end to end the track, right?
Is it the ecstasy?
Whew. God dang, this is a phenomenal track. So good. And then it's just probably a boring outro. We're going to have bass and then drop down into beats. Oh, we're just right into beats. Okay, just taking out some of the groove, some of the beat. There's you can sample that. Wow, that was quite the experience. Yeah, man, extremely inspiring, extremely inspiring. But a lot of great things in here. It's going to be too much to recap, but let's just recap with the basics. Okay, the recap is this is the HT2 formula. The HT2 formula is all about leading to the HT2 moment, and I kind of hinted on what that means. But the HT2 formula is the intro, bass drop, break 1, hook drop 1, main break and build, hook drop 2, outro. And so, one of the things that I talk about every single time in these is just how producers just check off the boxes, but they do it in a unique way. And this is a great example of that. So here in the intro, we're just getting beats, and then the bass drop we just drop, and there's a little bit of some unique thing, that kind of just a unique element. Doesn't need to stand out in a crazy way. The bass drop, we're just dropping the bass. In this B section of the bass drop, we're moving towards the break, right? We're introducing low passing up the hook, and the break we're getting a faster repetition of the vocal. The donk bass starts to open up. And then in hook drop 1, we're getting the hook over the groove, right? That's the biggest checkbox of a hook drop. It's called the hook drop. We're dropping the hooks over the groove, and so that's what we get. We get the donk bass over the groove. All right, a little bit of vocal, and then the amazing thing about this is the third section right here is building that tension by varying the melody, call, response. That's incredible. And then so just hooks over groove for the bass drop for the hook drop, and then in the main break and build, okay, we're working down, then we're working up, and we saw that. So the strip we're working down, low passing down the donk bass. We get into the basement of the track with the vocal. We start building up. We introduce the drums, and then all your typical build elements come up. We get the piezo. And then we go into HT2. And remember I said HT2 formula is all about HT2. And the producer here delivers the biggest thing that they can, right? They know. They give us the donk bass over the groove uninterrupted for 16 bars, 30 seconds, right? Brilliant. I mean, it's so simple, but it gives us what we want. We just crave that. That's what this whole track is ultimately setting up. Here we got it for 8 bars, and then he took it away. And then here, it just kind of low pass down. But finally, we get a jam session. We get a jam session of the donk bass. And it's everything that we wanted. And then for the second 8 bars of HT2 here, he introduces the vocal just as punks, but then he low passes down that donk bass. And then at the end here, I love that he just kind of like a nightcap, happy ending type of thing. He just gives us I think PAX is a duo, but they give us that ecstasy line for the last time, and then they just go into the outro. So good, so tight, but there's a lot of nuance in this track. A lot of nuance in the track that go beyond a lot of nuance. I was about to say that go beyond simply checking off the boxes, but it's not that. It's the nuance of how they check off the boxes that's so awesome, right? But that's all I got. If you got any questions about this, leave a comment down below. If you have any of your comments yourself on this track, I definitely want to hear them. That's one of the reasons why I make these, is because we love these tracks. We want to learn from them. We want to extract their secrets, put them into our own music. So if you got things that you want to add based on this track, then definitely leave a comment down below. Other than that, I will see you in the next breakdown. All right, peace.